How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Benji's Logs and Whatnots. I am Benji. I guess you guys have figured out what we're going to be doing in this video. We've got an old air fryer that has decided that it's no longer wanting to work. Not only that, there is a couple of other things that are wrong with this old air fryer. So if everyone has a bit of a look just here, all the coating is coming off the actual tray itself, so that is not good. And you can also tell in there as well, everything is coming off. That is not good for one's health. So we are going to, as you would say, pull this apart and basically separate all the metal and plastic and basically put it in the very trailer that's sitting out there. First thing to go is this. So we're going to put this down on the floor for the time being so that we can sort that out in a minute. But the main thing is to try and figure out how to basically get all of this off. It's probably a simple little screwdriver that we can come in and just pop it out, but we're going to have a bit of a gander and see what else we need. Yeah, looks like basic Phillips heads up and around here, so that should theoretically get some of the plastic off, maybe the outer casing. But I can tell you right now, just by looking at all that in there, is very greasy indeed. You can probably barely see, but that is very greasy. Give you guys a bit better of a look of what I mean by it. Grease. Jeez, bloody Louise. That is horrendous. And that is years and years of use. You don't realise on how much grease actually comes up into these said machines. These things are, as you would say, very, very convenient to have. But to have something this disgustingly greasy is beyond belief. So the first step we're going to do, guys, is we're going to take the very bottom off. We do have our trusty little ratcheting screwdriver. We've already got the Phillips head on there. Most of these are Phillips head, so it should, as you would say, come off relatively easy. So see how things go. Alright, both those screws are out. Comes to the next little part of where all the wires go into the back. Again, 2 more screws to undo. Alright, screw number 2 out with the little plastic strip. So this should be able to just pop out like so. Now time to get 5 screws from underneath the bottom casing. So this should pop straight out once we've undone all of these. Now that we've got all teeny weeny little bloody screws out, we had to go and get another screwdriver because that other one was a little too fat to get into these little holes. But this case is now officially out, so we'll have to just sit that there for the time being and basically undo this little segment here, which is only 1 screw, so we should be able to just undo that easily enough. Then again, could have just undone the clips on that, but it is what it is. Now we've got the other ones running up into the actual head. So that means that we're going to need to investigate. It looks like it's only got these screws just here. that is off, looks like there's going to be a couple of these little clips that we're going to have to get the screwdriver or our favourite little toy, this thing, little hook, and basically run around and try and jimmy those off. Or I might have to flip this over and basically start taking off all the stuff that's on the top. Alright, that was relatively easy. Had to figure out how to get these off. Best way is screwdriver. Get underneath. It's okay if we, as you would say, snap these, because they're not going to be used for really anything. It doesn't matter if it breaks the bloody little stem off it like that, because that's what the inside of it looks like, but it doesn't matter if we, as you would say, break it, because it's all pretty much going to go in the bin either way. But again, a couple more bloody screws. As bloody well always. And it doesn't matter if they go on the bloody floor, because I don't mind, say the least. Alright, a little bit of leeway. I had to basically jimmy this up because I didn't know if there was going to be any more screws, but it looks like there's a few of these little clips just here. So you've got those little clips there up throughout the very surface. Now we've got to try and figure out how to get that out, but I'm pretty sure that because it's connected to this, that little piece of motor can come off, or dial, or whatever it is. So what we're going to do with that is get our trusty little screwdriver and try and jimmy the thing off. So that might take me a couple of seconds to bloody do that. So unless there's another bloody way we can do it, but this will take me a little while. Look at that. That's pretty much what's on the inside, guys. So this looks like the little dial that does the temperature, little thermostat thing. So you just dial it to whatever. So that would have been the top just there. So that was the temperature. Goes up to 220 degrees or 200 degrees Celsius, and you can have it up to a 30-minute thing. So that is the little alarm that goes in there for the timer, and that was for the temperature gauge for the 200 plus degrees for whatever. But that is all right. And as you guys can see in the back here, that's the fan motor. It's got a little bit of copper in the back and a little bit of copper just here. So gonna have to go through here. There's 4 screws throughout the top, so that should theoretically get all of this up. So that'll take me a couple of seconds to do that with my trusty little ratcheting screwdriver. Should be able to just undo these easily enough. Alright. There we go. That should just come straight off. Very top bit, one solid piece, polypropylene plastic. Can go down there. Yes. So I should theoretically be able to jimmy this bit off as well, and hopefully take all of the stuff up. Right, we'll have to figure out how we're going to do that, because I don't know if there's going to be any other screws, and it looks like there might be some screws buried underneath here. So we'll try and get as much of this wiring off as possible. Don't want to try and bloody cut too much of it, but if we do, then so be it. Because it looks like we might have to cut these two off the back and basically we should be able to just jimmy some of these off if they don't want to be a pain in the ass, which they're going to be, so I'm going to have to get the supplies and do that. I think the best thing for some of these, because they're not going to want to come off too easily, is obviously get our trusty little side cutters, cut the little bell off. Already cut the little thermostat control off just before, and now we should be able to just work our way through. I reckon we can just cut that, cut that, cut that, cut the little wires off the back of the motor, and finally cut that. So that should free up the bulk of these wires. So now we should theoretically be able to move this out of the way. We should theoretically be left with the rest of this. So now we should be able to get the screwdriver and just work our way around the top part. If there's no more screws, which I don't think there theoretically should be, should be able to just jimmy the lot off the top. If there is, that's alright. I tell you what, by the time I'm finished, I'm going to have to go and well and truly wash me hands, because that is nothing but bloody grease right there. That is disgusting. But that's just the way it is. Looks like it's going to be a little bit tougher than I thought. Ah, yes, okay, I see. So they're very cunning. They've got some screws sitting right in there. So make it a little bit easier for ourselves. Shove that in there and get these bloody screws out. Very cunning bastards they are, I will admit. So what we're going to do now is get this heat element out of the way, plus the little fan that sits behind it. So I've already unscrewed the heat element, which is now officially out. Could probably use that for something down the track if we really wanted to get like a positive and negative terminals and just bloody plug it in and have it used for something. But at the moment, what we need to do is try and get this fan bit out. Okay, so that must mean it needs to go that way. Righty-tighty or righty-loosey. That's out. Theoretically, we should be able to just pop all of that out, like so. I think what we're going to need to do is cut that little bit of a wire that's right there, and that should pop all of that greasy bloody mess out of there. So I'll have to see if we can, yes, more screws, never bloody ending in screws. So I should be able to just take that little fan off there, and all of that should come off the very motor itself. Tell you what, guys, as messy as this mother is, that was a fun little pull apart. And now the fun part is to collect all the bits and pieces to basically chuck them away. This is probably going to be the final screw that we do for this. So now theoretically we should be able to just separate this grease trap of a bloody lid from the rest of the plastic. We still do have the trays and that we need to do, but I really want to have a look inside this thing here. Now I have no stinking idea on how we're going to get it done, but it looks like there's a couple little bits either side of that we need to fold in. But it's going to take us, as you'd say, a hot minute to even jimmy those back across properly. Now that we've done that, it should pop off. And that's pretty much what's on the inside. A couple of screws and whatever else. It doesn't want to bloody come out. Yep, that little screw right there is stripped. Can't really get it out. That is always a bloody case. The only way we could probably do it is if we get the next size up. Maybe that will work. No, that is well and truly stripped to the point where I can't get that out, but I'll have to put that aside and basically try me luck at another time. Yes, okay, so that's 4 little bits. That will come up like so. That is so cool. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that. There's a whole heap of bloody gears in that. That is so freaking cool. See if I can get this all undone so I can have a better view. But I can almost guarantee, oh yeah, this will take me a couple of seconds to undo this. Now the problem with this, guys, as soon as I pull it apart, it's all just gonna basically, as you guys can see, fall apart within their very hands. It's already bloody losing all its gears and whatever else. But that's the little timer that was ticked down from 30 minutes till it should be theoretically ready. But yeah, it's basically gonna just fall apart as soon as I try and get all this frame apart. So it's a bit of a bummer. It would have been nice to see all of that come apart in one big solid piece, but yeah, well, we're pretty lucky to see the internals of that before. Now, because there is a bit of metal on here, we are going to try and, as you would say, pull it apart as well. And as always, there's a nut and screw holding it all bloody well together. That's alright. Not going to take us too long to, as you would say, get it all undone. As always, there's always that one that wants to be bloody tight. Well, that's the handle off. Now that is one complete metal tray, bucket, whatever you want to bloody call it. 4 little screws underneath there, shouldn't take too long to undo. Alright, one little extra bit, hook goes there, and again, screws after screws after bloody screws. I don't think I'll be able to get these out. It looks like they are fairly bloody rusted in there. A little bit of persuasion, as the saying always goes, if you know what I mean. Got all that pulled apart. I can just add all of that to the rest of the pile of crap that we've got. Screws, plastic, metal, you name it. Can't believe on how much bloody plastic to metal ratio there is to these bloody things. That's alright, because it is all, as you would say, going to get recycled at some point. So we're not going to put this in the garbage bin or anything else in between. It is all going to get recycled down at the local tip. We do put them aside, especially the metal stuff that we got there. It all gets put aside, and then that all gets recycled so that it doesn't go into landfill and everything else in between. Last but not least, the very bottom part where it catches all the oils and that from the said thing. There's a total of 4 screws in there that we need to take off to get this final plastic bit off. So that shouldn't take, as you would say, too long of persuasion. Might even just need to use the little hand-powered one to unscrew the final 4 screws so that we can get this plastic off. Now that we've got all those screws off, that will pop straight out like so. That still has a little bit of metal just here, so there's another, yet again, 4 screws right there. So we're going to put that aside for the time being, and then undo these 4 screws, get that little bit of metal out, and then we can just start putting all the metal into basically that. So we can put it aside, so the next time that we go to the tip, we can just put that in the boot and then do our business with it down there. Now that we've got those 4 screws off, there might be another one somewhere along here. Maybe. Or we might just have to get the flat blade screwdriver and run circles around it, but at this given point, yes. So that's what it might be. Pop. And pop. Right, final little piece right there. Anyone would think that I would be sick and tired of screws right about now, and you would be right. I would be very sick of screws, but at least with this, it wasn't, as you would say, as bad as some of the other stuff that we've, as you would say, have pulled apart in the past. Now that is done, it is all pretty much done, all except this bad boy right here. But we're not going to worry about this just yet because we don't need the copper off the back as of yet, so that'll be a time for that later down the track. So guys, this is pretty much it. What is inside an air fryer right here. Not much to look at, and I must admit very, very greasy. You could almost bloody scrape it all off and use it as a bloody fire starter. With the amount of grease that this thing bloody collects over the years is ridiculous. But it was a fun little bit pull apart and whatever else. So the only thing that we really want to play around with later down the track is the little motor and the little heat element thing that's as you guys can probably see right there. So we'll leave those two for a later time down the track. That was certainly a fun little pull apart either way. Haven't done one of these in a long time, and I tell you what, I should have wore rubber gloves. I've got some sitting somewhere amongst all this bloody mess that we've got over here, but I didn't, as you would say, think of finding said gloves to stop us from getting such dirty bloody hands. But it is what it is. We've got dirty hands either way. We literally went upstairs to wash them, but still playing around with this, we still got greasy hands, so we should have waited until after the fact. But we do have some other things that we are going to pull apart at some point down the track. We've got this old WD 1 terabyte hard drive that we're going to do at some point down the track. Something that I bought many years ago, back, I think it was about 2006 that I bought this, or maybe later, 2008, 2010. So you can certainly see where how far the hard drives have come along. But that's going to be for another time down the track. But for now, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. I've blabbered on too much as always, and I've basically done what I needed to do with that. So hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I have as you would say, enjoyed pulling it apart. So in saying that, guys, I will see you in the next video. As always, it's Inevitadici for now, and as always, guys, keep it cheesy.